Welcome to Bridging the Gap: Law, Therapy, and Justice.
Hey everyone, welcome into an all-new episode of Bridging the Gap: Law, Therapy, and Justice with attorney and licensed marriage and family therapist Caitlin Burgess. I'm your host, Mike Leon. Caitlin here practices across the intersection of law and mental health. She's been helping families, attorneys, and courts find clarity and resolution in high conflict solutions. And in today's episode, we're talking about court-involved therapy. Caitlin's going to explain what it is, how it works, and why it matters for families navigating the legal system. Caitlin, it's so good to see you. Since the first episode, I would love for you to share a little bit more about your background. What led you to combine law, therapy, forensic work all under one practice?
Oh, thanks, Mike. It's great to be here. So, I began my career as an attorney, and I really wanted to maximize my impact on people's lives and work for social justice and vulnerable populations. And I thought the intersection of law and psychology would be a great place, a great field in which to do that. So, after I had my two children, I decided to go back to graduate school and get a master's in counseling psychology. And I was really interested, frankly, in helping children who are experiencing the divorce of their parents. And this really comes from my own experience as a young girl when my parents divorced and witnessing the systematic inequalities and the concerns that can come up when children are caught in the crossfire of their parents' disputes. So I really wanted to maximize my professional impact, and I found that I've been able to do that.
Yeah, it's great to hear as a son of a divorced family as well. I needed you 20 years ago, Caitlin. But let's get into. But I want to get into for listeners out there who may be hearing the term for this first time. Can you explain what court-involved therapy is?
Yeah, certainly. So, I'm a member of the Association of Family and Conciliation Courts, the AFCC, which is really a national organization that focuses on the professions of law, psychology, and others involved in the legal system. So I really utilize the definition that they do, which is any type of court involved therapist would be a therapist who is providing mental health services to individuals, families, and children who find themselves caught up in the legal system, whether that be the criminal justice system, juvenile dependency, civil courts, and family justice. So it's a professional involving psychotherapeutic services, mental health services to families and children and individuals in the court systems.
So what tends to bring families into that kind of therapeutic setting? Is it usually just custody disputes or the post-divorce issues, something else? What tends to bring them there?
Yeah, so I focus most of my practice in family law, although there is sometimes an overlap in the criminal justice system as well as juvenile dependency courts. So typically, if parents are involved in a high conflict custody dispute, the children can really suffer in those types of situations. So courts will often appoint me or another mental health professional to work with those children's or with those families. Um, in addition, domestic violence is a big issue in the family court. Sometimes we'll see an overlap, people facing criminal charges, as well as an ongoing legal dispute in family law. So I can work with the perpetrator or the victim or the children. I'm also seeing many cases where there's substance abuse issues. So, uh, alcohol, other types of substances, drugs, and so forth. And also cases where there are resist refuse dynamics. That means when there are families that have gone through a divorce and the child or the children are resisting contact with a parent post separation. I call that, there are many different terms for that. Uh, I refer to that as family systemic interventions when there are parent child contact problems. So I work with the whole family and try to reconnect. One of the goals there is to try to reconnect the child or the children with that rejected parent.
Caitlin, I'm sure someone's listening to this, or at least I know as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking about the role of the therapist. Does it change when it's a court appointed one that's part of the process versus a traditional private therapy one? Like, what are the differences there?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about court involved therapy. One big difference is it's not voluntary. So when someone is ordered into therapy, it becomes mandated and there's legal oversight. However, a lot of the work is still the same. I'm working on helping people build coping skills, increase their self awareness. And because it occurs within the legal framework, and I'm a licensed attorney, it's helpful to sort of work with people and help them feel calmer about the process, provide psycholegal education, because the process can be very daunting for people when they find themselves caught up in this system. I also think there's a misconception that it's not effective because it's mandated by the court, and I found that not to be true at all. People can really benefit from court ordered interventions.
So, Caitlin, because you're both an attorney and a how do you balance those two perspectives when you're guiding families through these cases?
Yeah, well, I actually find it fairly easy to balance because my legal background really helps inform my psychotherapeutic practice. So I practiced intellectual property at the beginning of my career, and then that evolved into practicing family therapy. Once I had my children, I felt very drawn to working as a family law attorney, and then I became licensed as a marriage and family therapist about 10 years ago. So the interdisciplinary perspective is very helpful. I want to make it clear, though, Mike, that in my role as psychotherapist for a family, I cannot also be their attorney. So I make that very clear from the outset that I am in one role, and that is as therapist. It's not considered ethical to be someone's attorney and therapist. So I always keep that in mind and make it very clear from the outset that I am the attorney, or that, rather, I am the therapist,
Therapist, right.
and that my legal background and experience informs my psychotherapeutic work.
Yeah, and that's great to hear. And I did want to ask you because we started at the beginning talking about divorce. We're both the kids of divorced parents. The collaboration amongst the courts, the lawyers, the mental health professionals, everyone knows it's obviously complex, sometimes those relationships. But in your experience, what helps those relationships stay productive and focused on the kids?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's really important that we keep the best interests of the child or children at the forefront of our work, whether you're practicing as an attorney, whether you're a court ordered neutral. Whether you're working as a custody evaluator, the focus should always be on the child's best interest. And I like to take a collaborative approach and reduce conflict and work collaboratively with the attorneys and the other professionals involved so that the conflict doesn't overtake us. And I think it's also important in these cases, there's always allegations and cross allegations. And sometimes when we can all communicate and collaborate, it can reduce that polarization in the case and bring us all together in a more child-centered way.
Kaylin, without getting into specific examples, the families are under such enormous stress. How do you create this sense of safety and trust so the parents and children can truly engage in the process? Do you have any examples you can share?
Oh, absolutely. So I have very clear boundaries in my work. My contracts are very clear. I communicate very clearly the limits of confidentiality in these cases. Sometimes therapy is non-confidential in the court process, but sometimes it is confidential. But there are limits to that confidentiality. So I'm a mandated reporter. So if there's a reasonable suspicion of child abuse or neglect or elder abuse or dependent adult abuse, threat of harm to self or others, that is a limit of confidentiality. I would have to file a mandated report. So I make that clear from the beginning. Uh, I really am very focused on practicing ethically, uh, following my professional ethics codes. I'm a member of the California Association of Marriage and Family Therapy, so therapists rather. So they have an ethics code I follow, and I make that clear to my clients. And just really being present for them and responsive and helping them explore their concerns in a way that is productive and makes them feel safe and comfortable.
Caitlin, as we wrap on this episode, a moment ago you were mentioning about the misconceptions that it doesn't work because it's court appointed, right? The therapy part of this. But what kind of changes have you seen in your experience, or do you tend to see in the family dynamic, the child well-being, the court's outlook, or the case itself? What have you seen in your years of experience with court involved therapy?
Yeah, I really find this work so rewarding. I love to see families and children and individuals make progress. So it's particularly rewarding when there are cases where a child hasn't seen a parent for many years, and I'm appointed as the family therapist to reunify that parent and that child. It's very rewarding to see that relationship. Develop again and blossom. It's so positive for the child and the parents. Working with victims of domestic violence, helping them find their voice again and develop a career and greater self-awareness, or just develop more self-esteem and empowerment. Working with perpetrators as well, that's helpful to see them develop greater skills and self-awareness and growth, and just watching people grow and change and become healthier, and families become healthier. I have found it to be very rewarding.
That's great to hear. Caitlin, thank you for the time and insights on this. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
And that's it for today's episode of Bridging the Gap Law, Therapy, and Justice with Caitlin Burgess. If you want to learn more about Caitlin's interdisciplinary work, bridging therapy and law, like she mentioned, do me a favor, visit CaitlinBurgess.com today. You'll find resources for families, attorneys, mental health professionals that are navigating complex or high conflict cases. As always, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Give us a like, comment, review. I'm Mike Leon. We'll see everybody next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.